Hey everyone, so today we're going to be talking about the impossible draw cut. How to do a draw cut when your opponent is 100% expecting a draw cut. So to start with, let's talk about what is a draw cut. Well, a draw cut is quite simply a cut from the draw. So your opponent catches you unaware and you have to attack them back as they come charging in to attack you while your sword is in the sheath. So you have to draw the sword and do a cut at the same time, hopefully before your opponent lands their attack on you. So there's three main types of draw cuts: the horizontal draw cut, the downwards draw cut, and the rising draw cut. Now, one big problem with all of these is that they all come from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. Because the sword is sheathed on the left hip, then naturally this is the way that the draw cuts have to happen. So if you are an opponent who is attacking somebody who has their sword in their sheath, and they turn around and manage to see you before you are able to attack them completely unaware, and you see them reach for their sword, you 100% should know that a draw cut is coming. And so if you can block off all of the lines of attack that they would be able to do from the draw cut, then theoretically you should be safe. So as the person doing the draw cut, then there's two ways to get around this. The first is be stronger, faster, more skilled than them and land that attack before they can counter it, which is a very tough thing to ask because, you don't know the level of the skill of your opponent. So the second way is what I prefer, which is to catch them unaware with an attack that they wouldn't have thought possible to land from that position. For example, from a draw cut, if you can do a draw cut that goes from the right hand side to the left, then they would not have expected that, and you can land an attack on them that they weren't expecting when they thought they were 100% prepared for your counterattacks. So how would you land a draw cut from the right hand side to the left when the sheath is on the left hand side? Well, in Sete Iaro, then the 12th form actually shows a little bit of a snapshot into how you can adjust the angle of a draw cut. So they have a draw cut into a vertical downwards cut rather than from the left to the right. And how they do is that they draw into two-handed high guard and then they come straight down. Now what if we just adjust that very, very slightly, and from the two-handed draw, we turn it into a downwards cut from right to left? Well, then we've very effectively done a draw cut from right to left in an angle that your opponent wouldn't have expected. Now this attack is slower than your typical draw cuts, but if it's the difference between having all of your lines of attack shut off compared to you being able to land the attack, even if it's a little bit slower, I think it's a well worth trade-off, and I think it's worth having it in your arsenal. Now this technique still is faster than pulling out your sword to the neutral position and then going for a cut from there. Now there's a couple of benefits to this. One of them is if you're with someone who you need to protect and they stand on your left hand side. Well, if they're in line with you or behind you, then your normal draw cuts are fine because you shouldn't really have any chance of attacking them because you punch forward with the draw cut and you do your cut. But if they're slightly in front of you, then there becomes a problem because then they may actually be in the trajectory of your draw cut, and the person that you're supposed to be protecting could actually be harmed by you. So by doing this two-handed draw cut, it comes up close to your body, no chance of harming them, and then you do a downwards cut from right to left, and you know you're not going to harm your friend, and you can effectively cut down your opponent. Now there is one danger with this, and that is that you can cut off your own arm if you do it incorrectly. So if you do the draw, and the sword comes up, and if you look here, it's not in the way of my arm, and then you can raise it up to do the draw cut. But if from here there is any movement backwards, now you can see that my arm is caught in the way, and if I try and do the cut, I will not have a left arm. So it's really important in doing this two-handed draw cut to make sure that you have a nice clean draw with no motion backwards, otherwise, well, you could remove yourself an arm. So make sure you practice it with a blunt sword and you practice it with good technique, and you don't move on to a sharp sword until you're ready to. So I hope you liked learning about the impossible draw cut, which is really just a draw cut that your opponent shouldn't be expecting. And I hope it adds to your arsenal of techniques and that it proves useful to you. And so with that, I'll see you next time.